when it comes to runes, is there something that I know this is totally random? Hey everyone,
Yeah.
derailed everything. Runes, working with them versus tarot. Do you still do things with the runes, or what makes them so special in that accord?
Yeah. Okay. So I hardly ever do divination with runes. I've got a rune set. I'll use them if it's appropriate. Let me tell you this like rune spread that I've created. Really fucking cool. So you've got 9 worlds in Norse mythology, and they are arranged in a very specific way. And so in the center, I'll have Midgard, which is this world, and so I'll just pull a rune, slap it in the center. Above that is the world of the gods. Below that is the underworld. And then off to the right, I've got the Vanaheim, which are like nature spirits. To the left, I've got light elves. Bottom right, I've got dark elves. Lower, that's the giants, is on the lower left is the giants. And then way up top is the world of fire. Way at the bottom is the world of ice. So with all those 9 worlds, I'll just pull runes. And when I'm pulling runes, whether it's for divination or for spell casting, I'll reach my hand in the bag and let the rune jump into my hand. Like that's the only way to explain it. I put my hand in the bag and there's just a rune there. Okay, cool. Pull it out, slap it down on that space. And then what you do is you go through and you do the reading. So this is, so with Midgard, with your, the physical world, you look at that and go, here's the physical circumstances of your life. This is what this rune's telling me here. Here's what's going on with your relationship with the gods. Here's what's going on with your relationship with the demons. And so it does a full like spiritual diagnosis of your entire spiritual self. So if you haven't tried this yet, you got to try it. I'll have to like create a map or something of this, but it's really freaking, it's pretty cool. So if you just, and you can arrange the worlds however you want, as long as you know where each rune, like where each position for the worlds, and you keep that the same, you can put them in any position you want. But yeah, flip the runes and do a rune reading for each of those worlds, because those 9 worlds compose the individual. But doing divination, so like that's the coolest divination I think I'll do with runes, because it does give me a full scope of what's going on. Other than that, like if I need to look into the future, if I need to look at what's happening, tarot it's exact and it gives me everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
For runes though, rune casting is really where it's about for me. It's like I'll take a rune, for instance, let me see, this was probably 2016, 2017. I was just, I don't feel like I was having any particular problems financially, but I just wanted more money. I just looked at what was happening. I was like, yeah, let's make some more money. So I draw a rune. So this is one of the things is, if you really want to be proficient in the runes, you've got to memorize them. You got to know what they look like, know what they sound like, have all of that ready to go. And so I was just out hiking when this hit me, and I'm like, I need to manifest some money. So I think it was the Uruz rune that I used for that, and I just grabbed a rock, cut myself, and then used my blood to draw the rune, and then focused on it, looked at it just like you would a sigil, just gazing at it. And then started giving the sound of it. For Uruz, it is Uruz, but then it just starts going because there is, with every rune, you're going to find you have the full name of the rune, but then one sound just sticks out. Now Uruz, if I'm thinking, oh no, not Uruz. I'm sorry, that's not the one I used for this. It would have been Fehu, sorry, Fehu, because Uruz is Fehu. And so what that is, and then that's connected with cattle, cows, and with wealth. And so the biggest thing I think that happens, whether you're using, like you were talking about with your Radionics or whatever, you've got to make the reality that you're envisioning more. You got to be more attached to the reality you're envisioning than the reality that reality is showing you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't believe the lies that it's raining outside, even if it's raining outside. That's a lie. That shit's going to disappear because I've got to get myself into tune. So same thing. The concern about money was just gone. And actually turned into excitement, like excitement because that money's coming and it's already there. So I bury and this is one part of it. I bury the rune. This is concealing your runes is one big thing. Once you cast that rune, dig a hole and just bury it there. And you're actually, what you're doing there is you're taking the rune that you've charged, you put your intention in, you're planting it like a seed in the earth, and you're putting it closer into the underworld and closer to the earth itself. So the earth itself is going to help you manifest this thing. And so I bury this rune, and I go for a walk. And again, I'm just out in the middle of nature. This is like my favorite thing to do is just go walking in nature. So I'm out there walking, and I keep doing the mantra. Ooze, ooze, ooze. Or not ooze, it was fehu. Fuck. You get the wrong fucking rune. I think I got to work with urus today because it keeps coming up. So, but I'm doing that, and then I start noticing I got cows walking right next to me, like out in the middle of nowhere. A whole herd of cattle comes out of freaking nowhere, and they just start following me. Like I was like sincerely concerned about my safety, getting stampeded or whatever with these cows if they get a little excited around me. And I'm like, okay. Don't lose it. Just keep here. Just keep giving the rune. Keep focusing on it. And at that point, I wasn't even focusing necessarily on the money reward. I was just getting lost in the mantra. And then I get back to my truck, flip open my phone, turn it back on, and whatever. And I see I got a message from Timothy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we've got extra extra money, free money."
Wow.
But casting runes can be, it is one of the most powerful instantaneous forms of magic I know. Like if I want to change something that I can't really sit and like make the rune itself, I'll visualize it, and specifically in the color red. You always want to do your runes in red. That's the active color, the color of aggression, of blood, and so I'll envision that rune. I'll just do an overlay in my mind of just overlaying that rune on the person that I want to affect or on the situation. I'll just like literally just see it in front of me and then start feeding it power and opening up. And you can start seeing it in your mind's eye. It'll start glowing and it comes to life. The rune comes to life in front of you. And then at that point, what I'll do is I'll actually inject it into the circumstance. So it'll kind of be hovering in the air in front of me in my imagination. But then a lot of times with a hand motion too. Your hands are very important. With a hand motion, just toss that into the situation, into the person, so that situation, that person, that object becomes possessed by the spirit of that rune, and then that you can get instantaneous change that way. Wow.
Yeah, because I've been working with the tarot and having a lot of fun doing that, but the runes just. There's something about them, like it is shamanic, it's very in touch with the earth and just like more earth, more natural, working with the elements more. And it's really cool you were mentioning Saint Germain earlier because I did a little bit with him, but my biggest transformation, I've had to get prepared. He's telling me, you've got, you got this and that, but like, you got to be fully ready to commit to whatever it is I'm going to ask you to do. Like truly having that full thing. And I'm like, in my mind, there's the, no, I will. But then the other part's like, actually right now, I do got to work on some stuff. I got to take on these things. And like, that's kind of where the whole hastiness and all those things kind of came up in my mind, because to be ready for what you're going to get on the journey, you have to be able to have not all that extra baggage on you. You have to be able to take claim to that. But yeah, the runes are just something that definitely feel like I'm going to start to incorporate into my life for sure, just because the casting of them is so powerful, and to be able to have that overfeed. But Man, even doing like a rune on a Radionics box or a tarot card on a Radionics box, I feel like would definitely have a lot of potency and stuff with it.
Now
But
here's a crazy little exercise anybody that really wants to take this to the next level can do. All right, so the story is that Odin traveled to Jotunheim, the land of the giants, and went to this well that's like a spring that's coming off of like a spring that basically runs through all of the worlds that emanates from this one well, Mimir's well. So he goes there, he drinks of Mimir's well, he offers his eye as a sacrifice into the well, and then drinks of the well, and then he hangs himself on a cross, or he's hanging himself on a tree upside down for 3 days. And so, you know, once again, so some of the Eddas say 3 days, some of them say 9 days. But he hangs himself on this tree upside down, and is basically he sacrifices himself for himself, so he can obtain the knowledge of the runes. So the fun little practice that I found with this, if you can find if you can find a way to put yourself upside down, like you know those boots with hooks on it, you can if you can get those and go to like even go to a playground and do this on a you know the swing set or something, hang yourself upside down, and while you're hanging there, start going through the runes and actually give the mantra of the runes, visualize each rune. There is something, and so you can hang upside down. If you're able to do a handstand, like that is one of the things like I worked when I met my first mentor, Baba Maharaja. He was a yogi, and he teaches me a few different meditation postures, and then he's like, okay, for this one, you're just going to put your hands in a diamond on the floor, pop your knees up onto your elbows, and then do a handstand. And so he just pops himself up and do a handstand. I'm like, oh, just like that. Okay, cool. I was this chubby 16-year-old or something at the time, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I can't do that. He's like, no, not with that attitude, you can't. And so he just starts working with me on and he's like, you know, he basically let me know, like, this posture is essential. You need to be able to do a handstand. You just need to. You just need to. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I worked on that. It took me years. It took me years of practicing yoga before I could pop up into a handstand. And now I can do it no problem at all. But that is there's something that happens with your Kundalini. It doesn't necessarily flip it. You might think that it would because you're flipped upside down. Mm-hmm. But it actually creates like this rush, like a gravity rush of Kundalini energy that's just pouring into your crown chakra, your third eye. It does some crazy, and so I'll hold it, you know, sometimes 30 seconds, sometimes a couple minutes, and then when I come back down into a kneeling posture, dude, it is divine. I mean, I'm glowing, the whole world's glowing. It is ridiculous. So if you haven't tried that, can you do a handstand?
I tried to a couple of years ago, but I think dude, next time we go to the gym, I'm gonna go for it.
Dude, start working on it. Just, put your hands on your knees on your elbows, and then and don't. I mean, I'm doing a headstand. I'm saying handstand, but I'm basically making a tripod. My two hands and then my head are creating a tripod, and then I'm I'm not putting strain. This is careful. Don't put strain on your neck. You got to be careful with alignment. Here's the fucking crazy part. Here's the turnaround that I had that actually made me able to do the handstand. It has nothing to do with my body. Like because I was trying to use my muscles, and I was thinking when I was first learning this, I'm like, I'm a chubby kid. I can't do this. It has nothing to do with your body. It has to do with your focus. So as soon as first you got to be able to think that you can do it. If you don't think you can do it, you're not going to be able to do it. But you see yourself doing it, and then just calmly pop yourself up. Get into that position, slowly bring your legs up. Once you're fully up, find something to look at, one spot to look at. So for me, I've got a statue outside of Shiva, and so I'll set that out, and I'll just look at Shiva. And you can put a dot on the wall. Find one spot to focus your eyes on, and if you can hold your eyes and your mind on that spot, you will not fall. It is actually crazy. As soon as you look away from that spot, you're not even moving your body, you're not even moving your eyes. You're just paying attention to something besides that spot, you fall. As soon as you start thinking about your body, you fall. As soon as you start thinking about, is anybody looking at me, you fall. As long as your mind and your eyes are looking at that single point, you're going to stay up.
It's a Star Wars thing right there, dude.
Yes, it really is. No, but it is. It does do. You gotta get into that because it does, especially where you're all into fitness and shit. Like if you weren't into fitness, I'd be like, oh, don't worry about this. It's not that great. But yeah.
No, dude, I'm about it. Actually, so like tonight I got hot yoga, and actually in an hour I got a back readjustment, which my goodness gracious, like I feel like I have to get that once a month because it's like, dude, how have you been good? I'm just like, I'm just a tank, you know what I mean? I'm just like, flip this stuff up. I don't care how heavy it is. We're gonna keep going. But when it comes to like yoga and all these things, as much as I've been doing it, God, man, I get humbled every time inside this hot yoga class. And there's people doing those headstands exactly what you're talking about. And I've never, my hands weren't in the right place. I'm going to try it definitely different and get that flowing more.
A couple big things I've seen. So I'll start out with my hands in a diamond, just like that.
Hmm.
Now that's a really narrow center of gravity, and so you can fall pretty easily like that. So I'll keep that same wrist position and just spread my hands out.
Okay.
And so you gotta find like usually right around where my shoulders are at. Just plant my hands on the ground there, plant my head down, bring my knees up onto my. So first you want to do what's called a crow or a raven, where you're just perched. Your feet are off the ground and your knees are rested on your elbows, and so your whole weight is resting on your two hands.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you've got that down, you can hold that for a few minutes. That's when you start lowering your head and bringing your feet up.
Oh, dude. Okay, I'm definitely going to be doing it. Dude, it's called a freaking crow or raven. Are you shitting me?
So yeah, if you're doing yoga classes too, I'd hit up the instructor before or after class and just be like, hey, I'm trying to work on this. Can you help me out? And they'll help hold your feet. They'll help you get into the right position. Yeah, for sure. But yoga, like you said, it humbles you, and it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. That's what it should do, actually, is so Sri Patabi Joyce is the guy that basically created Ashtanga yoga. They created this 8-limb yoga system. I mean, he got it from old, Patanjali sources and stuff like that, but he's the one that actually codified it and called it Ashtanga yoga. He says yoga does not begin until you want to stop and don't. As soon as you want to stop and you don't stop, that's when yoga starts.
It's kind of like that Muhammad Ali, the reps don't count until after you get, and it already starts hurting so bad. And I'll definitely say, like after 45 minutes, and I like going to it when it's this hot flow, because it's like this, it's almost like CrossFitness going on. But dude, to find out how much my body not only feels better, but how I see other people. I'm 30, and I feel like I'm freaking 18. And when I was 18, I was overweight. When I was 21, I was on blood pressure medicine, 240 pounds. Like, wow. People need to realize how moldable and like how you feel is how you feel within, which comes into the outward. And there are different things. Like, I know you do the Tai Chi and stuff in the morning. I bet that gives you a nice flow of energy, and you feel flushed, like in a positive way, instead of waking up and then running out the door, just a mess, No,
it does. It does. It resets your energy field. Like I go to sleep and wake up, and the person I wake up as, a lot of times is not the happiest person in the world. The person I wake up as sometimes is a dick, and then I've got whatever my dreams were about, and then whatever happened the next day, whatever I'm supposed to do tomorrow for work, all of this stuff is in my head, and I'll have a lot of like anxious thoughts and anxious feelings just almost always just start popping up, and so the issue with that is that I start to believe those negative thoughts and start to go, oh yeah, that's true, the whole world's against me and everybody hates me and I'm gonna fucking die, whatever it is. Because like I'll tell you what, no, not even kidding, my anxiety and paranoia, when it starts going, it always goes to that place. Everybody hates me and they're trying to destroy me. It is nuts. It is so nuts. So then I go do 10, 15 minutes of some Tai Chi or some Falun Gong or some yoga. And every time, it's so funny, every time I'll be holding one of the postures, feeling the energy moving around. I'll be like, I should just go inside and get some coffee. I'm going to go have a cigarette. Just that little like, that impulse to quit, that self-sabotage that tells you, you've done enough, you're good, and it's like, wait a minute, This is only a 15-minute, because that's my morning routine is a 15-minute energy work. It's only 15 minutes, you pussy. Like, you know, let's step up and actually, it's only 15 fucking minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Actually stick with it for only 15 minutes. But that's so hard for us when we're locked into something. But as soon as I get past that hurdle, I'm golden. Same thing with running. When I was into running, first 5 minutes were hell.
Yeah.
After that, the next hour is just bliss. The first 5 minutes, I want to quit.
Yeah, that's how running is exactly for me. First 5 minutes sucks. But after that, dude, I fucking love it. And it's funny you're saying, like, when in the course I have 30, 90-day intervals and all that. Dude, definitely, like, getting myself, like, the Wim Hof, if anyone wants to, here's a little gold nugget, just go on YouTube, type in the Wim Hof breathing exercise. Do that round. It's only an 11-minute video. Well, I've gotten to points where some days I'll sit there 35 minutes, 45 minutes, and after I'm in that zone and I start feeling that pineal gland pulsate, man, dude, I'm addicted and I'm hooked. And at this, you know, just by breathing exercises, it feels like I'm on psilocybin, ayahuasca. I'm just by breathing and getting your energy right. And like, dude, it's a quick cleanse. And like, I was doing it everything in the morning. But then after, you know, I go on to my next rotation of things, I quit. Now I'm looking back and I'm like, damn, like there's certain things, get your ass out of bed an extra 15 minutes early. Like,
Right.
what's that going to do? Like, is that really going to kill you? Why don't you go to bed a little bit earlier? And if you don't fall asleep, okay, who gives a shit? Just make the little dials, like you know, internal dials. What do you got to twist to be able to get that energy right? And yeah, that's something too for myself. But what you just said about the sunrise and the dragon, dude, that actually has me wanting to. And I've always complained of waking up that early, but like I feel like I do need to do that, even if it's just for a couple days.
Let me go a little deeper on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because like I said, Asmodeus gave me that nugget, and then I started running with it. And what I realized, okay, for 3 days leading up to actually doing that, standing in the path of the dragon in the rising sun, 3 days leading up to that, I fell into a deep darkness. Like, once again, everybody's after me and they're trying to get me. But then even that, like, why am I even trying? And my life has been such shit, and I've been dealt such bad hands, and everything that I could complain about, I was just steeped in. And I realized for 3 days, and I realized this is intentional. Asmodeus was trying to get all the yucky shit inside of me, all the shadows inside of me, and bring them to the surface. Then when you go stand in the path of the dragon, that sunlight and that dragon just blasts that, because basically it takes all the inner shadows and it creates an outer shell. You're feeling so miserable by the time you stand in the path of the dragon that you just want to die. And then by that time that sunbeam hits you and that dragon flies into you, it is nuts. So the experience that I had with it, at first, it was like an eradication of all of those feelings. It was just, and I'm going to be honest, there was an intense shift in my life and in myself at that moment. I think that's partially responsible for getting me off of a self-destructive suicidal path, was that working. Because I had to embrace all of that darkness. I had to, you know, rather than just shoving it down, go, no, everything's okay, everything's okay. Yeah. There's a part of me that knows everything's not okay and everything's been pretty fucked up. And so to embrace that, lean into it, and let that come to the surface, and then stand in the path of the dragon. Now here's what I saw. To me, the sun completely changed. It looked like, I don't know, like it turned colors and all kinds of weird shit. Like my physical vision was just blown away. And then I saw, well, then I have a voice comes to me and says, you think you've been chasing after power. You don't need power, you need strength. Think about the things, what are the things that have actually given you the most strength in the world? I actually landed on my daughter, my child. Before I had her, I didn't give a fuck. I was on my way out of this world pretty quick. You know, the 27 club, that was the club for me. And then I had this child that I got to change everything now. I've got to keep myself alive, and not only keep myself alive, I've got to be a good example for this child. I've got to do right by her as a father. I've got to do right by her as a mentor. all of these different things. It was like, okay, I've got to do the impossible and change myself to this intense degree. And so it's like, yeah. And he's like, that's right. That is right. Love. It's love for others. It's never love for yourself that gives you strength. It's love for others. And so I was like, boom. So those things combined, love and strength combined, is unstoppable. That's actually when you tap into power. When you have your love with the understanding, I'm strong enough to do whatever it takes. And so then I see this vision. As soon as I have that realization, I'm just like, I don't think I was in tears, but close. I mean, I was just, choked up over all the realizations I was having about, like, yeah, sure, I've struggled, sure, I've been dealt bad cards, but look at what I've done with them. Look at what, and not anybody else look at what I've done. Me, I need to look at what I've done. I need to appreciate what I'm doing. And then I get this flash vision of myself. I'm gonna say, I was like mid 50s, maybe 60 years old. And I'm somewhere in the sunshine. There's a building there's a building behind me, and I'm sitting on the steps leading up to that building. Looks like a courthouse to me. I don't know though. But I'm sitting on these steps, chatting with some younger guys, like I'd say 20, maybe 16 years old to like 20, mid 20s, and just maybe a few, maybe like 4 or 5 that I was seeing there. That we're talking about magic and spirituality, and we're talking about all these things. And I could tell by looking at myself, by receiving that vision, that person that I would become was completely trusted by those younger people. That I had developed in me something that could be completely fucking trusted. And I'll tell you what, at that point in my life, I feel like I felt untrustworthy within my own self. I felt like I couldn't trust myself. How could anybody else trust me? And so to have that turnaround and be like, well, wait a minute. And it was a very clear flash of the future of like, wait a minute, the person I can become is not just a good person, it's a great fucking person. It's a great man that I can become. But it does require actually understanding that and coming from a place of that combination of strength and love. So that's what I got from the dragon on the sunrise thing, was like, huge just realizations, I think, of my own goodness, my own strength, and my own capacity for love and for transformation.
Well, and man, so when I was talking about the Hawk's vision, 8 months, sounds like the dragon's vision is 25 years plus, man. Like, really seeing things to that high level of elevation, and not only seeing but understanding who you're coming and who you're evolving into. And like,
sorry, just to interrupt you real quick, one thought before it escapes me is, at that time, I was still blowing up on YouTube and getting my numbers, getting the best numbers in the whole fucking world for Magick. And that was really important to me. But what I saw in that vision, I only had a few people around me, just a few. And I was totally, and another thing, a few people in person, not on the internet, in person, sitting with me. And I was like, that, I know my destiny now. I know. It's got nothing to do with the internet. The internet's been a fun tool, thanks guys, but what it has to do with is having just those few people you can actually talk to in person. Boom. That's my whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, realizing and seeing yourself, like, and having compassion for yourself, especially from the past of what you've had to do, because everyone has their certain times, but also like a compassion and love, like, I know I'm going to have to do this, and this to get to this point. But it is a magnetism, It's like we're being pulled to this, I forget what they like to call that, when everything hits all at once, synapses, whatever the hell. And we are being pulled to it, whether that's through your evolution or whatever, and staying on that path. And also realizing, if you do see the rubbish on yourself, like, what should I take care of, And also, let's look at it. Not let's hide it away, but let's look at it and bring it out, and accepting those dark points. People really do need to accept that there's shit that you did in your past that you might not like, but guess what? Love yourself. Like, hell, I had to be an asshole and pull away from people and go to a dark place where I could have done some really ridiculous shit, but instead I didn't. But I at least allowed myself to energetically go into it, to express it, because otherwise you're repressing. and then disease once again. But that's not all thing.
I did an interview with this this guy Dimitri and this lady Danny. I can't remember the name of their channel. It's like Sons of
Lilith.
Yeah. I just did an interview on their channel, and Danny said something that was super. She said a lot of stuff that was super profound. But one of the things she said was that we started talking about child abuse and the horrible shit that we've gone through as children. And she said, all of that is in the realm of death. And I was like, whoa, what do you mean? She's like, it's unchangeable. It's in the realm of death. The only thing that you can do is accept it. Like that's your only option. Do I accept this or not? Am I going to keep denying reality and keep trying to imagine like my grandma's not dead? Am I going to keep trying to imagine my grandma's not dead, or that I'm not going to die? Or am I going to try to imagine that I wasn't fucked up as a kid and that I wasn't abused? Because that's what I did most of my life, is pretend like shit didn't happen. Or are you actually going to lean into it and go, in? This did happen, and it sucks, and there's nothing I can do about it. That's one of the big things I've gotten from necromancy is, let me actually grab my book real quick. Oh, if I can find it, yeah, here we go. It's like every time I'm doing a death meditation and my skeleton starts to talk to me, I write down what he says.
Dude, he's intense and he's badass. That's all I could say.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say about death while you're looking for that, definitely, like when I said I didn't have that compassion and that stuff for my father when he passed away. Well, before I knew I had 1 week left with my dog, I was able to go the extra mile, walking out in the super cold, everything I could for her. So it's a way of your relationship with death. If you have that embrace and know what's coming, being more in tune, it's easier to not have it be so ravishing and thrash you around,
No, absolutely. So this is fucking great. It says, how do I let go? This is fucking great. I asked Death, how do I let go? And he says, there is no way to let go, as it is a ceasing of all effort, and even of desire to make an effort. There is nothing you can do but to know that there is nothing that you can do. There isn't anything that you can do. It is over, and there's nothing that you can do. You will never be able to fully understand death, but you can only simply learn to accept it. And so it's like, fuck, like, and that is like all the horrible shit, all of those shadow things. The shadow is basically comprised of things that we understand at a primal level we can't do anything about. We just have to accept that. And that is the interesting line. Let's talk about that for a minute. That's the interesting line, because as black magicians specifically, we almost have this like inner drive to control everything. And like, we were talking about the weather a lot for today's conversation. Dude, we shouldn't be able to do this, to fucking think about the weather and then the weather changes. We shouldn't be able to do this. This is nuts. Like all of this shit is like, what the heck? But we can. But when you actually do bump up against those things that you can't do anything about, that all you can do, like death is definitely one of those inescapables. The past, although I do believe that you can influence the past, I don't believe you can completely change it. What I've done to influence my past is soul travel back to my child self and give them encouragement. Hey, buddy, you're about to go through some really hard shit, and it's gonna really hurt. It's gonna suck, but you're gonna be okay. Look at me. Look at the man that I've become. You're gonna become this man, and even more. And give him a hug, and maybe that's just internal child work, or I don't think it is. I don't think it is, because I have seen myself improve and overcome a lot of the inner struggles that I've had as I've been doing this work, and I've also seen physical circumstances change to the point that, like, the abusers that were family that were in my life are just like not even anywhere to be found.
Well, and internal as within, so without. You can change a memory instead of it being painful as a burn or a scar that reminds you to be better. You can always change those scars into golden trophies. Honestly.
And one thing you'd said earlier, dude, I can't remember what exactly he said, but it made me think of this, that we don't need all the shit we think we need. You know, when people say need, that like you don't really have too many needs. Break it down to an animalistic biological level. This is what you said. You know, you're alive. Be grateful that you're alive. And it is like, as long as I've got life in this body, in this incarnation, it doesn't matter. I can be homeless. I can go without food for a long time. I can eat out of trash cans. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. We've gotten really, really comfortable. I had a client that was like, I'm not going to make it. Like, he's homeless, doesn't have he's looking for a job and whatever, and he's in this little shitty town that doesn't have any jobs. And he's like, dude, I don't think I'm going to make it. I'm like, what does that mean? I mean, I've had that thought before, not going to make it. But usually that's like a suicidal thing. But like, what do you mean you're not going to make it? And he's like, I don't know how I'm going to survive this. I'm like, bro, if you go outside, take all your clothes off, and just go wander through the world, you'll still find a way. You'll eat lizards. You'll do whatever. Are you going to make it? That shouldn't be the question. Of course you're going to fucking make it. What do you want to make it into? That's the real question. Because like you're going to make it. Like I mean, there's we're all going to die. So there's that. You got but while you're still alive, to be going through this, like, that defeatism of like, I'm not going to make, I can't do it. I can't. I'm just like, no, you actually can. But like I said earlier with the headstand thing, you got to be able to see it. You got to believe you can do it. You can.
Yeah, and without any belief or any intent, no willpower, nothing's going to be able to be achieved. You have to be able to have that. Plus, am I not going to make it? Exactly. What is it you need? What is it you want? I got water. I got electricity. For as far as I'm concerned, I'm doing way better than a lot of the world. Like, look where we live. Like, if you're looking on a phone, like, we are really blessed. And instead of complaining about not, things being unfair, grab some dials and change some things. Empower yourself with the magic. Go use the tools to make the things that are going on, because beyond the scenes, if you really look into it, some of the stuff celebrities are doing, they're doing all sorts of sorcery behind the curtains. And freaking masses and, Catholic churches and all that, they're doing blood sacrifice. They're literally doing... the wars going on in the world is literally blood sacrifice for either Yahweh or Allah, whatever the case may be. And it's like, dude, unless you go into war realizing there is that war going on, like, you're just going to get tossed around. And so you can not only just be thankful to be alive and conscious in this body, but then it's like, dude, what can we do to be able to leave an imprint? And I know, like, there's a Spartacus. His statement, this one guy, I think it was Spartacus. I don't give a shit. Spartacus in this story. And this guy says to his partner, like, oh, I wouldn't want to be like him because he's going to have to fight him. And then the guy next to him says, well, that's why you'll never be remembered. And I think now there is a little bit of ego that's, of course, into it, but that's our reality and the construct of who we are. That's us coming from that source down to that lead. But you have to have that to be able to be like, dude, I'm not just here to let the riverside hit me around and me to work this. I'm going to make a ripple and make that pulsation of that change. And you have to just have that drive and that ambition to do that. And I don't know where I was going with that, but definitely.
When you were saying earlier, you're saying something about how, you'll talk about alchemy with people and they'll be like, oh, yeah, I don't see your chemistry degree or whatever. And then, you've got to take these chances on yourself. You take risks on yourself. And the thing that hit me with that is you've got to be completely open to failing big. The bigger you're willing to fail, the bigger you'll succeed. If you do succeed, not everybody's going to succeed. You've got to be willing to fail hard. You've got to be willing to fall on your ass in front of everybody and have everybody laugh at you and say you're a moron, say da 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 da. You've got to be willing to fail fucking hard. If you're willing to fail hard, your chances of succeeding are huge.
Go all in. That statement, dude, if you're not all in on what you're doing and you are worried about how that comment they're gonna put on a video or what they're gonna say anywhere, you had to go through that huge fucking bullshit. it's like at the end of the day, I'm seeing my path, and I already see, you know, a couple years ahead when my show comes out, and then everything else. It's like, are you willing to do and go the distance? Are you willing to go all for it? Absolutely. You know, the ideas of radionics, of magic, and all that are more prized in my heart to talk about that information, like what you talk about, the free flow of information, than anything else. It's not about the money or anything along those lines. It's about me telling the reality of what works and what does not work. What's empowering, what's not empowering. Like what is the truth? And I think that's the most beautiful truth, divine light. Truth is divine light. And honestly, that's just the way the infernal divine absolutely give that blessing to you and help you see those type of light and see the restrictions. And that in and of itself is such a paradigm changer. You know, it's why would you not want to incorporate this into your everyday existence if you're able to then bring that truth and that empowerment, and how is that evil for someone whose spirit who's not doing that great to get a nugget and be able to go off on their own adventure and help out everyone else out and be a divine light? I only see that as empowerment, and the fact that the system is so this demon, this daemon. I mean, I have a family member who, because I could let them visit and everything else, and they left, and then their dog got really sick or whatever, and then they're like, oh, you're an evil individual, you cast a spell, or you have a radionics box X, Y, and Z. It's like, I know it's not the truth, and I'm not gonna sit here and try to have to fight off things and care, you know, like.
Well, you know, what you're becoming in that moment is a mirror that person is talking to. You know, because they're not talking about you; they're talking about what they're afraid of in themselves. And you know, because that kind of I have that happen. I still have that happen where it's like the people that actually know me are like, dude, you're positive and happy and fucking outgoing and blah 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 blah. But the people who don't know me, and then they get an impression either through my public image or through, you know, hearing shit or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got negative spirits around you and bad energy. You can't hang out with you because you got bad energy. I'm like, yeah, no. My energy is just my dials are turned up a little further than yours are, and it makes you uncomfortable. And that's okay. So it's not that I have bad energy, it's that you feel weak next to me. That's not my fault.
Yeah, exactly. And bringing up like truthful questions and truthful statements and having that honest conversation. Like I know you've even explained, like you'll ask some pretty flat out ridiculous questions to people, and I do that at parties. I don't care. I've talked about dude, I was on a dance court, and they said, "Can I get some cocaine?" I said, "It's called semen retention." And the girl was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Have you also ever done Wim breathing? Let's get our energy right." And they're like, "Okay." Like, it's just being flat out honest, as well as not being, you know, afraid of things. Like I have some friends who already have gray hair, and they're like, and to me, I'm like, you're not taking care of your body, you're not eating right, you're spiritually not doing the things you need to be doing. And like I said, as I've gotten older, I've felt and looked younger, and I find that whole change of DNA like is absolutely real, and that's why people do get so pissed off and mad, because there's something different about you, and they get very angry about that. Like, oh, why are they having all this attention and all this and that? It's like, I'm not going into a place and saying, look at me, everyone, attention, attention. No, I'm just being me, and that happens. It just happens, you know? When if we saw each other in astral bodies going to places, you know, that's why spirits get drawn to certain people. It's because of that astral light so fucking bright, you know? But then also that's why the leeches and stuff get involved, and that's why you just ask a Nana to get rid of them if, you know, they're not good for you. And she'll take care of them.
No, you know, I've been keeping up with some of JD's recent videos. That dude's on fire. He is crazy. He is crazy as a loon, just like me, and I love that about him. And so, but he's doing rituals around the Washington Monument, and he was talking about that, and I had this like a flash vision. Okay, that's Those are the kinds of visions I get most often. Is a flash vision. It's just like a half a second of a shot of what's going to happen. And I'm seeing, this is something I'll have to plan out with some people and whatever, showing up at the Washington Monument in black robes and just doing a satanic ritual right there. Other people are there praying. Other people are there doing their thing. Why not just jump in there? So I'm specifically, the vision I saw, 3 people in black robes at the Washington Monument and standing in a triangle and, doing different postures and different shit to bring energy in. And then, maybe, I don't know that you could get away with doing this at the Vatican, but big hot spots. Okay, so like the Washington Monument, right? That's not just a political thing. That is a magical fucking center. You see all the symbolism there. You see, this is our whole nation. And I'll just speak specifically about the U.S. because I know about the U.S. I don't know about a lot of other countries. But in the U.S., this is 100% a Masonic occult country. This is not a Christian country.
Yep. So. 100%. All the obelisk, all the things have gone on even over there in the Vatican. All the phallus symbol and all that, even the comb, which the Pope wears, and the hat comes out from Sumerian of power stuff, dude. It's so out in front of us. It's such a joke. And then you tell people about it, and it's just too much for their system to comprehend. And anything that you tell them, like when it comes to like the Christian God in particular, and even the fact that Lucifer wasn't even in the original book until Saint Jerome in like the 6th century decided to fucking write him in there, so they make this egregore of this evil entity. It's like, dude, this shit's so convoluted.
No, yeah. Well, and even like the whole how the mythology of Satan was twisted over. Like all you gotta do is read the book. All you gotta do is read the book, and you can see Satan starts out hanging out with God and chatting about what's going on here on Earth. And he's like, hey, you got this Job guy that's doing this shit, and this guy. Satan seems to always be hanging out with God and giving God advice. And then what he also does, this is beautiful. The whole time, Satan's not testing us. He's not tempting us. Satan is tempting and testing God. I mean, that's the whole time. He's like, are you really going to fuck this guy up? This guy that believes in you and loves you so much. Are you going to fuck him up just to prove that you're the best? You will? Oh, okay, you will. All right. You're going to kill your only son? You're going to let your only son be killed? Oh, okay, cool. You'll do that too. Oh, you're going to destroy everybody in a flood? Really? Really? You're going to do that, God? Okay, cool. And so Satan is actually the devil on God's shoulder.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I mean, it's just like Loki and the whole Norse.
Yeah.
All their stories, man. It really is.
Just to clarify for everybody, in this case, when I'm talking about God in that way, I am talking about the demiurge force, not the original source of all things, because there is this like mysterious thing that happened at some point where some spiritual force took notice of our planet and our species and tried to co-opt it. And said, oh, look at all the power these motherfuckers have. These monkey god people. Let's utilize that. And this is what I call what a lot of people call Jehovah. That Jehovah is basically an imposter god. I think that came from some other realm and attached itself here to try to, and it's straight up vampirism, to try to feed off of again the people themselves, the prayers that those people are giving, and then the works that those people do. And this is why all the miracles. Every miracle in the Bible is not brought out by God, but it's brought out through God's people.
And I'm definitely feeling as if it's an alien co-op, as in your soul goes up and they put you in the recycle so you forget who you are, and it works with the Greys, and that the Greys are the one that are kind of in control of this whole entire energy taking vampirism. This God can be killed by everyone stopping giving it time and attention, but unfortunately the fear and all the program, like that's the only way to kill a God, is to take away its time and attention.
And when I was like probably 12 years old, I started writing a book. It was going to be my first. It's really my first failed book, called The Fire of Ares, and the whole premise behind it is that. People had forgotten about the worship of Ares. And so Ares basically died. but then gets resurrected as people start worshiping him again. So in the modern day, because I kind of just imagine this thing like, because I think I was going through my own spiritual crisis at the moment, 12, 13 years old, coming up in the Mormon church, starting to see all the holes in it, starting to realize the prayers really aren't doing what they're supposed to and whatever. And so I was going, wow, just like the Greeks were onto their thing, like we've come up with this mythology that we think is true, but what if we did that? We started resurrecting these old gods. And that is, because it doesn't really, because that's the thing, all right, so in all of the mythologies, you have this beautiful cycle of the old gods are there, and then the new gods come in and suppress the old gods. They can't actually kill them, and so they almost always force them into the underground. They force them into the abyss. They force them somewhere where they're put into dormancy. Mm. And then in the last days, those old forces, those ancient forces, rise back up. They reassume control. Usually they eat their children. Usually they'll eat the younger gods that destroyed them. So and there's actually this beautiful painting or not a painting, but like artwork that's done of showing Kronos, the Titan, Greek Titan, throwing a bunch of infants in his mouth. And so he's got this huge mouth, and he's just like dropping a handful of humans in his mouth, and then the cycle starts all over again. Those old gods will hold their reign, and the new gods are going to come and take them over again. Mm-hmm. And it's always, it is a beautiful, beautiful cycle. But anyways, so the gods can't actually be killed necessarily, but they can be suppressed, and that is, well, so the really cool thing, all right, so I like to study weapons, nuclear weapons and all kinds of weapons, and just like the beauty and the horror of it. So I see similarly what religion has been able to do is genius. Because I think they realized you can't really kill the old gods. So instead, you put a new face on them, give them a new name, maybe switch their gender, and tell everybody that they still exist, but you don't want to have anything to do with it because that's the devil, that's the evil one, that's that this is the forbidden thing, and so it does accomplish this thing of not necessarily forgetting about them, but suppressing them in suppressing the ability of people to actually reach out to these beings.
And the muckiness of the actual authentic pure energy of the spirit, because one spirit in the Egyptian pantheon can be related over here to the whatever Greek pantheon, and it's like that's why I've loved to always follow it back to the most authentic trait of it, like Inanna for like Astarte or whatever the case may be. So I have this more authentic of the energy, but at the end of the day, if it works for you, like the Goetia, like I don't know who Salos was way back in the day, but I'll tell you who the fuck he is now, and he's awesome. So
okay, so there's actually something huge what you just said there. I've been doing this work with a bunch of demons. I'm doing this whole. It's called. No, I don't want to throw it. I don't want to throw it out there. It's like I'm like a year away from being able to publish this shit. But I'm working through this satanic, demonic alchemy, and it really requires a reimagination of every single demon. So the two that I started working with really heavily were Beelzebub and Paimon. And to Beelzebub, so. For most of my understanding of Beelzebub has been a sun god. The symbol of the flies being midsummer. So I would always summon him in midsummer and go outside into the middle of the desert. He had drawn me over and over and over. He had drawn me to a specific spot. So I'd park my car in the same spot and walk for 30 minutes into the desert. And like I can still see it in my mind where the different mesas are at. Okay, so we just past that one and around that corner, and then over, down the riverbed. And so I'd go out there, summon Beelzebub for years. But I'd only, like I said, midsummer. So I'd only work with them like a few times a year. So last year, right around this time, just as the world's coming out of winter into spring, at least the northern hemisphere, if you believe in the round Earth. it's coming into spring, and Beelzebub just started pulling me strong. And he's like, come see me, come see me. And I was like, all right, cool. Now, when I was working through the gate of Beelzebub, he kept taking me to abandoned, like derelict buildings, like old industrial complexes that got shut down or that lost business in COVID. He'd take me to those, and I'd be sitting in the middle of this abandoned, graffitied ass warehouse, and he's like, "Yeah, this is what you need to see." He'd keep taking me to places where human civilization came and went, and a lot of the times within the space of a couple years. Some of these places he's taken me to that look rusted and all graffitied up and everything. 2 years ago, that was a fully functional plant, and so he's showing me the turnaround time of human consumerism. That we build all these plants and then it just sits there. So he starts telling me, come see me, come see me. So I get in my car, just drive to that same area, and I could feel. Yeah, I don't know what I was feeling. I was feeling a lot of shit, but I go to drive to that same spot, and as I get there, the whole desert is torn up, and they're putting in parking lots, different industrial complexes that I can no longer go to that sacred spot in the desert where Beelzebub always drew me to. He drew me there, in my opinion, to show me, look, what was once sacred is now being used for commercial enterprise. What was once sacred is now, you don't have your sacred space anymore. What you gonna do? And I was like, and I can go find another, but I was really getting a strong, I'm not to find him in the desert. If the one spot that I've always called him at is no longer available, it's time to find the next spot, the new spot. Just like a magnet, I was pulled up to the mountain, to Pine Valley Mountain, the big mountain that overlooks this whole area. So I'm drawn up there. So I was like, all right, like, kind of weird for a desert sun god to want to go up to the mountains in spring, but okay, let's do it. So I go up, drive up, and he very, very specifically directs me to go on this block and to go sit in front of a waterfall. So I'm just like chilling on this rock with this waterfall right next to me, and so one thing that little nugget for people is the vapors that are created by moving water. Those are really powerful vapors. You can summon just about anything inside of those vapors. So if you got a waterfall that's smashing into the water, you got vapors all up in that air. Summon some shit inside of that. So I start summoning Beelzebub, and he says, "Not by that name, not by that name." And I was like, "Oh, okay, Beelzebub, Zabibu, Baal Rakor, which name do you want me to use?" He's like, no, a new name. Give me a new name. Just like Beelzebub was a name that somebody gave me, I need you to give me a new name because you're about to come to a new understanding of me. And so I was like, okay, cool. And which I have, and I'm not going to tell you what that name is yet because I'm going to publish this next year. But because this is a whole alchemy that was inspired by this. What he was showing me very clearly, what I have thought of him is not completely accurate, and that actually the desert god thing was a pretty strong misdirection that was put there. Let's make everybody think that this guy only exists in the summertime. He only exists as flies that swarm around shit. And as long as you got that impression, you're gonna have a limited view of who Beelzebub actually is. Mm-hmm. In working with him here, I was like, wait a minute, okay, there's something. This is rebirth. Renewal. That's actually what Beelzebub is about. Rebirth and renewal. And so then I start working with Paimon, like in a very connected rituals to go, okay, so this is Beelzebub's perspective. Let's bring Paimon in, see what he's got to say. And did a very similar process with Paimon of stripping away my assumptions of who Paimon is in order to get to know him. It's like we were talking about before. People come into me and they're like, oh yeah, you've got negative energy and evil spirits around you. If you got that in your head, that's what you're going to experience for sure. Mm-hmm. And so clear that out and just get to know the person in front of you. And so that's how I was treating both Beelzebub and Paimon. They both showed me a vision. This goes back to what you were saying earlier. They both showed me a vision of And it's not a vision that I could see. I'm saying calling it a vision at this point, it's not really a vision. Like when I was talking about flash vision, that's actually like a flash of a visual thing I'm having. This is more of an understanding. Somehow there is a way of merging technology and organics. Using metals to pass current. That's old. That's old. That's old. The new, I don't know if you've seen this, but they're starting to use different fungus to pass electrical current.
Wow.
They're seeing that does crazy, and they're starting to use different fungus instead of plastics, and so this stuff is already in the works. But what they basically showed me, both Paimon and Beelzebub together, that as a species we can find a way of living in total harmony with our environment without sacrificing our comfort, without sacrificing our technology. That we just have to expand what technology actually means and what we want it to do for us. But also to bring it in harmony with the earth. And I don't know, see, this is the thing. I don't know what that would look like. This is why I say it wasn't a vision. I didn't get a visual because I don't know what that could even look like, because my mind can't even imagine technology that is not destructive to the environment.
There's definitely, I think a huge part of that is that intent, or if the people have that intent, just like when you're walking along to see a piece of trash on the ground or whatever, and they pick it up. Or they see there's something plastic and then it got threw away in the wrong garbage, and then them picking up and grabbing that. I think if everyone starts off with that intent, then it's like as these new technologies come about, they already have kind of that conscious, like, that would be cool. Like, dude, I had no idea about mushrooms I could pass electricity through. Like, that's, as well as if we use a technological way to move our, like, trains and vehicles with the magnetic poles in the magnetosphere that we already have being created, why wouldn't we tap into stuff that's already there? And I think it's just more of using what we already have instead of creating this pollution, this liability, to be able to keep pushing about the money that we'll be able to make profit because there's only a limited amount, and that's just, it's just, how the hell do you have everyone awaken to that fact? But, I guess it comes to that haste thing. We are doing our part, bringing about these ideas, and people are going outside the box, and you're gonna have to take on your scrutiny or whatever. But through the case, at least these are coming about, and I do see that vision and that Beelzebub. I remember when I went out there and I sat out and I heard all those beetles, and they all had the same pitch. It's like, beep. And then I went by that gong, and I hit the gong, and it just sat there cross-legged, just listening to that. And it felt a Beelzebub presence of showing that type of, like, frequency I was hearing was like the frequency of the future. It's like an already natural energy is already here. And just like what you're saying with the rejuvenation of land, seeing that desert turn to frickin' springtime, renewal. We cut down one tree, we add 3 there. And that's also kind of a part of the whole learning, the whole education, and being able to give the youth a ideal of kind of like, yeah, that's awesome, and we totally need to be on board with that. Instead of, you're the cool kid throwing out the pop can out the bus in the back. It's you're the guy picking up the pop can and putting it in the trash.
Yeah. Well, and so you hit on something there, is that we are doing it. This is in motion. The energy structure for these changes are already the energy matrix is already there, and so it's just a matter of the physical world materializing to match that matrix. But where was the end? Shit. Losing it.
It does happen.
I did this peyote retreat with this badass shaman somewhere, I think Brazil or Ecuador or somewhere, wherever he was from. He spoke absolutely no English. I don't speak Portuguese, and so the communication, it was interesting. Once we drank the peyote, we didn't have issues communicating. It was nonverbal. Oh no, it wasn't even, because as we were walking around, I was asking him about you. I thought I saw a plane that I thought was a UFO, and I was like, "Oh, is that a UFO? What's going on there?" And he's like, "No." And in his own language, he explains to me that's not a UFO. That's just a plane. There's an airport over there that they're landing on top of that mountain. And I'm like, I caught all of it. Like,
yeah, it's when I was doing ayahuasca, there was this one guy inside the same place, and every time someone would come by, he tried to get their attention, but it's like his light wasn't bright enough. And then like they'd go on by, and then like I could see him sitting there in sadness and crying, like, and I could feel his spirit saying, "No, no, where there's no attention, no one's showing me that light. I need help." And I was like, like without those verbals, I looked at him and I shut that energy. Hang on. And the guy comes by, "Hey, come here." And then the most conjumbled words I could possibly bring about, the guy was able to go over and help him out. But it is all about that. It's about, I feel like that psychic image you have with that telepathy you already have with humans. And it's also like why when you go meet someone like a family, if you're hiding some bullshit, they'll be like, yeah, he seemed nice, but there's something about him, There's always that authentic light that shines through us, and we can mold the mask, but that light is always shining there. So you have to be wary, and that's why I think honesty is number one, the key for yourself. I'm not saying for everyone else. But for your own fucking self, being honest, then you don't have to keep up with any lies. You don't have to worry about any shit. You can be your authentic self and enter the flow state. And I think that's the problem. People can't enter the flow because there's too much. Hang on, I can't let them know about that. They just can't just let it be authentic.
So jump back to the peyote. There's this dude. There's another guy there that's like coming along. It's probably a group of like maybe a dozen of us that are all going on this experience together. You just hike out into the middle of the desert and drink some peyote, and yeah, it was quite the experience. It was exactly what I needed. But there's this dude there that's before we hit the trail that takes us out to the desert, we're walking along like right by the highway. So there's cars. This guy goes, "Oh man, I hate traffic. I hate traffic." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah. All these people just busy doing their things, and everybody's just thinking about themselves, driving in their cars." And I said, when I see traffic, whether it's people walking or driving, it looks like energy to me. It looks like movement. There's something happening, and if you zoom out a bit, it's not even. Stop thinking of yourself as an individual. You're just part of the whole. You're getting in your car and you're driving to a central location, usually to work or whatever your thing is, but you're usually driving to a central location. And if you look at it on a map, I mean, just pull up Google Maps and put it on satellite mode at night, and you can see how there's, it looks like veins. It looks like veins and arteries leading to a heart. And so it's like every one of us is getting in our cars and driving and walking around, and we're engaging in community and in society. We're part of this big thing. And so back to your point on like that these changes are coming, this energy matrix is already there. Absolutely. And like we live so short lives, like such a short lifespan, and compared to like the evolution of the human race, one generation we'll be gone like in the snap of the fingers. The uncontrollable death is going to come get every one of us, and then the things that we've started are going to be picked up and refined and refined and refined and refined. That's a crazy thing that's like built into humans, is making things better. Like we have this obsession with like we just can't leave shit alone. And so yeah, just a little tweak here, and if all I get in my lifetime is just if I turn that dial to 1, that's cool. Maybe my daughter and her generation, they'll turn it to 2, and then somebody else will turn it to 3. But yeah, putting all the pressure on me of like this has got to happen. I don't know. Like I think I've learned, specifically working with Paimon, I've learned patience. That's one of the things Paimon says. He's like, with patience and dedication, you can get anything you want, but most people just can't wait for it.
That's just exact. King Paimon was the one that told me I needed to quit being hasty when I was and I took a cold shower. He's like, you need to not be hasty, and also like, look how long a cold shower is. Like, if you do a minute or 30 seconds, dude, those seconds are a lot slower than any other, and it just does take that time and that consistency to be able to make that shit go off. Man, that's crazy. That's really crazy if that's same spirit. But no, I'm totally, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, what else you got for me, bro?
So I have, actually one more big question, and then, well, God, dude, we could go into that too. Well, St. Patrick's Day, I want everyone to realize there's no snakes in Ireland. So they're talking about pushing out witches,
Mm-hmm.
and medicine and science was considered witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
So St. Patrick's Day can kiss my ass. So that's the one thing I wanted to say about that.
You know, I'll tell you what. So for St. Patrick's Day, I'll praise the leprechauns. I'm like, Happy Leprechaun Day, leprechauns.
Yeah.
Leprechauns, but yeah, no, that's for sure. That's there's no snakes in Ireland. It was crazy. So I just got back a couple weeks ago, a month ago. I just got back from Scotland,
Mm-hmm.
and it was nuts that we were walking around. They got cobblestone roads in the city that I was in, and castles and the whole. It's just badass. Then they've got here's the lake that we used to drown the witches in, and if they didn't drown, then they were really witches. If they didn't die in the drowning, they were really witches. And so then we would take them right here and take them to town square, just like right up here, and this is where we would burn the witches. And it's like, this is just part of their thing. Like, this is just built in, caked into the history and into the culture is this witch burnings, and it's like, that's wow. Look, the torture rooms, you know, we went on a little tour of like the underground torture rooms that they used to use and shit. It's like, what? Like the brutality of humans is nuts.
Well, medieval times, dude. At those places, they have all those torture stuff, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it is. Yeah. And that's not too far from Ireland. In Ireland, I guess, because I was chatting with Seraphina's one of her best friends there, who lived in Ireland for a little bit. They couldn't put their kid in school because their kid wasn't baptized Catholic. So you can't go to public school. Yeah. No, you got to get a tutor.
Oh my gosh, dude! I had no idea. And that control runs deep.
Yeah, and then you know, they got a little line across Ireland, and you cross over that line, it's the exact opposite. You can't go to school if you're not Protestant. If you're Catholic, you're gonna get beat up or bombed. You know, it's nuts.
What the?
Oh yeah, no, it's crazy what's going on there, and yeah, which is nuts, because it's like, dude, that's just Catholicism versus Protestantism. Those are very close.
Yeah.
Like hailing Satan is a different thing there, you know.
yeah, that's a complete different. And I mean, shit, not too far away, if you're not bowing down to Mecca, or you know, you do any of those things, which it's just to me, when you look at it with that broader scope and really see it outside, you see that division, and that just causes me to be pissed off. And it's like, dude, I'll do an Our Father. I'll go sit in a Catholic church. You think I'm gonna burn by putting my hands in the water? No, it's not like that at all. Like, anything that has that situation, that's a nag. That's just some stupid. It doesn't matter what you're yelling at it, dude. That thing's gonna feel it, you know. And that's something too I'm trying to bring about actually here in town. We have this Bell Mansion, and it's a haunted place. You do tours, and people talk about their ghost experiences, and I'm going to be talking with them about demonology and kind of just bringing out like that reality more and more. Like, they're now having like the young go there to learn like how different paranormal gear works and all that. And I just find it to be really badass, and like, this is such a new era of things and rejuvenation on just like the technologies and talking about the shit. You know, people doing tarot on the side of the street. Like, the fact that we can do that here in, you know, America is so different from, geez, go across the sea, say you do witchcraft, and they're freaking, exactly. I mean, we do have our own, you know, black sheep, this, that, or the other, but it's nowhere near. Like, I'm thankful to be in America and to be able to express that spirituality. Now when it comes to, this is my last question, and dude, thank you again. This has been.
Oh yeah.
Solomonic Pentacles. What is your thoughts with working with those? Like, do you find them to be almost living, or do you find them to be like an angelic, or just like a power, kind of like the rune? Because yeah, I've had a little bit of experiences, and this ring has changed my life. It's to build forth whatever I manifest for the day, and like just having that on, it's badass. But yeah, I just want to know your opinion on the Solomonic Pentacles.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like they're separate from like angelic power. It's a different. It does seem like a different thing. Honestly, it seems like it's closer aligned to the jinn than it is to angels. And even looking at like where potentially the Temple of Solomon would be, because there's a lot of people are saying now the Congo, but yeah. I mean, that's just the feeling I get. Is it's more of a jinn type of feeling. Yeah. And they do. You asked if they're living. I feel like all of these things are. That's one of the crazy. It's one of the crazy things. Like, you look at a pentagram and you can just feel it, and then you flip that pentagram around, you can feel something different. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Sadhguru did this awesome thing. Like, what did he say? When you're meditating, put your hands, just like, you know, cup your hands. You can. I like to connect these fingers. Some people connect these fingers, but, you know, connect some fingers, put them, rest it up, and so that way your palms are down, and just breathe, meditate, and then switch them so your palms are up. And you can notice there's a distinct shift in the way you breathe, the way you feel energy. It's not better or worse, one or the other, but it's just to get the feeling of all you have to do is that's all I'm doing, and everything changes. You know, and so yeah, just these little shifts of like tapping into that energy. You know, just tuning into it. That you know again, you flip your hands upside down, completely changes. Flip your body upside down, completely changes. Flip the pentagram, the cross upside down, completely changes it. And I think you're totally spot on with what you said earlier about that we're living, the world that we see around us is the inversion. This is the fake world where everything is opposite.
Yeah.
And so by flipping these things upside down, understanding that we're actually tuning into a more real reality.
And, you know, they also say that the black sun is below us, you know, the unmanifest potential. So if you flip upside down, then what is above you is manifest potential. And take that energy into your being, too. And that's something.
Here's a thought I've been having ever since Abaddon started showing me the world with gears and chains and machinery around. Started hitting me. Is this planet a Dyson sphere? Do you know what a Dyson sphere is?
No.
All right. So a Dyson sphere, it's a theoretical technology that like an alien civilization could create, where they would basically send a swarm of like drones that would surround the sun, and then they would take all of that solar energy, transmit it back to Earth or back to the planet to be made use of, but it would transmit that pretty much wirelessly. We're getting really close to this technology ourselves. So that way you're actually harnessing the full potential of the sun. You know, like we put a solar panel out, we're so far away from it, and we're only collecting a little bit of that sunlight.
Yeah.
What if we surrounded the sun with a swarm of drones that would do that exact same thing right up against the sun? So in the center of our Earth, again, if you believe in a round Earth theory, the center of our Earth, we've got a core that's very, very much like a sun. And then we've got this outer shell that's surrounding this entire fucking hot core. What if this is a big machine and we've just had plants and shit grow on this machine? We're part of this machine. We're actually part of keeping the energy going. All of our dancing, our having sex, our drinking, our partying, our working, all of our movement is actually giving energy, additional energy to this Dyson sphere. And then I go a little further with it. What if a lot of the UFOs are here coming in and out of this of our planet in order to harness that energy that's been tapped? Because maybe they're the ones that created this.
Well, now there's different layers to the firmament. And when they talk about the 10th layer of heaven, 9th layer, 8th or whatever, I almost am thinking if we could see beyond the veil, leaving this planet, even when you're in space, it'd be like an onion, and it'd just be different reality on reality on reality on reality. And so it's like, is there really, I guess there's just source outside of that. Otherwise, where are you at inside of this blanket of just different dimensions, like just cosmic?
With that dimensional model you just laid out, I see it about the opposite. The source is actually in the center, and we're all the way on the outer edge. Because this is literally the map, like the cosmological map that I came to is you have source, that's breathing light and sound, and wah, wah, wah. And each of those waves is pushing outwards, and as it gets further away from source, it gets more and more dense, to the point that it gets all the way to the physical realm, and it is as dense and material as possible. So we are as far away from source as you can possibly get. So when you're actually doing soul travel to various realms, you're taking steps inwards towards source, which is really inwards into yourself.
Wow, we are the gateway.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, that's dude, I had to. So when I was about 20 years old, I started receiving what I called the Ordo Ascensum Aeternalis, the Order of Eternal Ascent, and I basically just started teaching people the lessons that were given to me, and the various initiations and all of that. And so at first, the first initiation, maybe takes you a week to get through the meditations. Then after the week, you get the initiation. The next one might take you 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, and it gets more and more difficult until the 18th, the final initiation. It's going to last a couple years, and it's a couple years of grappling with one topic. So like, for I think it was my 16th or 17th flame initiation, that my task was to summon a god. And so I had to find out which god I was going to summon and figure out how to summon it. And so the god I chose was Demogorgon, and had an amazing experience with that. But that took me almost a year of really putting the pieces together, figuring out how to do this, and getting this whole system that would actually work. Oh, I forgot where I was going. Total blank.
Okay, so you.
Ruh-roh.
Okay. Damn. that happens, dude. I know. That should happen. God damn.
I'm not even smoking pot anymore, and my mind still does this.
Hey, dude, well, it's funny because I find it to be more natural. Anytime it happens now, I'm like that, whatever, fuck it.
Yeah.
Well, dude, honestly, I wanted to talk to you a little bit off air, and then, so we can wrap this up right here if that's.
All right, awesome. Hell yeah. So dude, awesome conversation today. We've talked about radionics, vampirism, necromancy, mass mind control going on.
The firmament, that's what it was. The firmament, and then it goes down to the black sun is at the core. That's kind of where we were at. But
there
I'm just
there we go. It was a fun little exercise. So there's let's see if I can see this real quick on my bookshelf here. No, I'm not seeing it real quick. There's a book. There's a group that you all should check out called the Ur Group, Ur Group, and it was composed by Julius Evola and several other magicians from the early 1900s. And it's crazy because I'm reading this thing from like this. It's like 1920, and they're writing about the black sun and these visualizations to activate it. One of the things he said is to keep this as an ongoing routine. That every time you see the sun, that you imagine in the exact opposite location, the black sun. And as that sun sets, the black sun rises. And just keep a constant, all it is just paying attention to it. Even when you were talking about like doing multiple days of radionics, like you just come and pay it a little bit of attention every day, just a little bit every day. Mm-hmm. And that's enough to build it. So every time you think about or you see the sun, immediately turn your attention to the black sun, and then when you're going to sleep, actually see that black sun above you, just channeling everything into you as you're falling asleep. And it is massive. Like there is something there.
Yeah, the unmanifest. Rurik had this symbol for the black sun. It's over there. But I've been using that because I'll use the sun as my power source on my radionic box. But then now for working with spirits, I've been using the black sun. So it's the unmanifest potential. So then that spirit can use whatever it needs to tap into to bring it about manifestation. And fuck yeah, dude. All I can say, well, definitely down the line, I'd love to just another chat, man. I'll keep doing experiments and everything else. And thank you all for watching. Be sure to go to bog.co on the forum for questions, bog.co/blacklight alchemy for my course. and everything else that's coming out, get your eyes on, because this is badass stuff.
Hell yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Blacklight out or bulk.co/blacklight alchemy, and you'll be able to get the Blacklight Alchemy video training course and all of that goes with it. So